Welcome to this episode of Missouri Charters Work, a podcast highlighting the charter school experience in Missouri. I'm Doug Thaman with the Missouri Charter Public School Association, and I'll be your moderator. For this episode, we have some very special guests with us, parents who all have students in different charter public schools throughout Kansas City, here to share all of their experiences. With us, we have Christy Moreno. Christy is a parent with Crossroads Charter Schools. Kiva Dennis, a parent with Brookside Charter School. Kiva is also a member of the Brookside Charter School Board. And Joseph Flores, a parent with Scuola Vita Nuova, SVN. We also have with us Rebecca Hessig. Rebecca is not only a parent with Academy Lafayette Charter School in Kansas City, but Rebecca is also a author who writes about public education in Kansas City and has an excellent blog, Set the Schools Free. So, Rebecca, I'm going to turn this over to you, and we look forward to hearing what all of our parents have to tell us today.
Sure. Thanks, Doug. I wanted to start out our conversation. I mean, we're all parents here in Kansas City. We've chosen charter schools for our children. I wanted to start out, though, by putting our conversation in a little bit of context, because I think, as you guys know, Kansas City's charter sector, our public charter school sector, has been growing pretty significantly over the last 2 decades. Today, in our school district within the Kansas City public schools boundaries, 47% of all public school students actually attend public charter schools. We've had 5 years, maybe now 6 years of growth in public school enrollment within district boundaries, and that's driven by growth in our charter school sector. We have more kindergartners right now in charter schools than we do in traditional public schools. So people are obviously making choices, and they're choosing these independent public schools. So I'm really curious to hear you guys talk about the decisions you've made and why we've all made this choice to put our children in charter public schools. Christy, you moved with your family from Mexico City. Mm-hmm. You took a risk and put your daughter in a brand new charter school the first year it was opening. It was a leap of faith. What appealed to you initially about Crossroads? Tell us about your decision-making process there.
It was going to be the first year that Crossroads would open doors, and so my daughter Nina started kindergarten there. I chose Crossroads for a variety of reasons. One of them was the downtown Kansas City location. Coming from Mexico City, which is a very, very large city, I really believed in the power of immersing children in the urban setting. The power of feeling the energy of a busy city, of a business district, and having all of those things impact and influence the upbringing, the education, the awareness for my children. Mm-hmm. The sense of community and social responsibility that Crossroads has was also very important to me, and the fact that they have project-based learning, they're very strong in that too, where our children would not just learn theory or memorization or, your traditional lesson, but applying the learnings immediately and seeing how what they were gaining academically would be put to use and impact immediately their surrounding.
Mm-hmm. Kiva, your story is a little bit different. Your son was attending a traditional public school, and you made a choice to change schools. Tell us a little bit about that. And, how did you end up choosing Brookside Charter as the school for your son? And now you're a little one as well.
Yes, pre-K, 6th grade. Brookside Charter was a choice for us just because traditional public school had just seemed to fail us. The learning didn't seem as progressive. The education was tailored, I think, directly to the students where they were being evaluated to see truly where they are. And there was resources that Brookside provided that those educational needs that children needed just to kind of get them where they needed to be. And I just felt like it was more of a personable impact than my child not just being a student, but he felt like he was a family, a part of the school, and I just saw teachers kind of just pour their hearts out, and also to the cultural component of the school, making sure that the school reflected the population of students that they serve. So that was a really big thing for us.
Okay, and sorry, so you have your son is in 6th grade?
6th grade in pre-K this year at Brookside Charter.
Okay. And sorry, Christy, your kids are how old?
I have a
Crossroads?
4th grader and a 7th grader.
Okay.
So 10 and 12.
Okay. And Joseph, so you're at Escuela Vida Nueva. You
Yep.
have a son and a daughter.
Yep,
at
10 and 8, 5th grade and 3rd grade.
5th grade and 3rd grade.
Yes.
So your story is also a little bit different because you actually attended SVN as a student.
I did.
Like, tell us about
We chose
that.
SVN because, for one, not only am I an alumni of SVN, whoop whoop, but you know, when we toured the school, I seen all the kids just paying attention, and it felt like back when I was there. It almost felt like home, you know. I've attended private school, public school, both in Kansas City, and the level of education I received from charter schools, such as a small one as SVN, was outstanding. You know, I can actually say that I've learned something there at SVN. So it was a no-brainer for us,
Right.
and also the location it's in the urban area here, pretty close to us, you know, blocks away from our home. So
Right.
it was an easy choice.
Okay. So I think all of our kids, and I should say, so I have 2 sons. They attend Academy Lafayette, which is a French immersion charter school here in Kansas City. My oldest started in kindergarten, and he's now a 4th grader. My youngest is in 1st grade. And I think we chose Academy Lafayette for a variety of different reasons. I mean, one, I think the idea of language immersion was really compelling to us. There's a lot of research that suggests that language immersion is really good for brain development, and it helps children in a variety of ways, including being global citizens, which is part of the mission. I think another thing for me was the scale of, you know, a charter school can bring the scale of public education down to a really reasonable and meaningful size, right? Like, dealing with a big system can be really overwhelming. And so it just seems a lot more manageable as school. I mean, Academy Lafayette is growing. It's a school of 1,100 students now on 3 campuses, but still, you know, much more manageable. You can get your arms around it. And I think the third part, and this is something that we've all talked about before, and I think really draws us to this model, which is that, you know, in the public charter school model, allows for decisions to be made close to kids, right? And so for my husband and I think that's a really important thing we believe in. So let's talk a little bit about that. And, you know, our kids have been at these schools for a few years now. Like, what is it that is, you've made your decision, what's keeping you there? Like, what do you see about those decisions being made that you want other people to know about?
I have had a wonderful experience with both my kids. We have as a family, and in the sense that, and I like that you talk about scale, because every child, every human being is so unique, right? And the fact that you're in a smaller setting where the teachers can connect at a very personal level, at an emotional level with the children, and actually be able to not only tend to their needs and their wants, but see the gifts that they bring and take them out and use them and polish them and empower children to use those to impact the whole school community or their families. One story that I like to tell is of Nina, my daughter, in 6th grade last year. So we're a bilingual and bicultural family, and to me it was very important to have my children in a school that would actually see those as gifts and not as just a demographic, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, this is, you know, these children might need language services. No, they really don't. What they need is that they can use their skills, they can use those talents to serve their own community. And so Nina was paired last year with a kindergartner, and I think it was 2 or 3 days a week during her RTI time. She would go and volunteer and go into the kindergarten classroom and help this low English proficiency child who had just come to the school get up to speed with his learning of English language. And that made her feel not only so good, but so powerful.
Absolutely.
And to see that she could use her gift as to serve others, but was more impactful to her was that she was seen, that she was seen as a valuable resource and as a valuable asset to the school.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the examples of the many that I have that I like to share, because not only are the children growing academically, but they're growing in their sense of belonging and their sense of feeling emotionally and feeling that even at a young age, they can impact their community.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to jump in and say something real quick. Sure. One thing they do at SVN that I really like and I appreciate is every day there's somebody outside welcoming each student in, giving them a high five. That to me, it means a lot, because you just never know what a kid is going through at home, and some of them go to school and they're upset, from something that may have happened at home, and as soon as, they see somebody cares or, reaching out to them to let them know, hey, you're safe here, you're welcome here, you're going to have fun here, this is a great place to be. I think a lot of kids, their frown goes upside down real fast,
Sure, it's like a reset button, right?
It makes them feel a sense of security, a lot of times when they go to school. And I say that because my child has went to school upset because I've grounded him off of Fortnite. And it's like, you was up all night, guy, you have to go to school. Then, he gets out, okay, Dad, I told him I love you, son, and he gets out and he doesn't say it back. And I'm like, oh, he's having a bad day. Right. As soon as he hits one of those hands, I look at him, he's going like this in the door, and I'm like, well, you know what? That's awesome, because
it's going to be a good day.
He got out upset, and he's walking in like nothing happened. So I like
sending him
like
into loving arms for the rest of the day.
I like that they care, to each individual student rather than waving to everybody. Hello, everybody.
Right.
It was individually, So
that's pretty cool.
that does a lot. That does a lot to kids.
Yeah, it does a lot.
It really does.
Talking about decision making and making those decisions close to kids, but another big part of this model is freedom to innovate. Kiva, you're a parent at Brookside. You're also a board member at Brookside, so you get to see two different perspectives on the school. But you were talking about Brookside and the way they staff their classrooms and the innovative model that they use in the classroom with the two teachers. I mean, can you talk about that? Because I think that's the kind of thing that freedom allows, right, in a school.
When we initially started at Brookside Charter, they've kind of changed the disciplinary model that if there's additional attention that's needed on particular students, then that's when the idea sparked of co-teaching. So pre-K through 5th grade, all of elementary, they have two teachers in each classroom. And so if there's just some interruptions or just anything that shifts the energy or change from academics, then there's assistance in the classroom to kind of help reinforce that, and the learning can still continue. I've always thought that was really great, because before I was always worried about kids missing out on academic learning from a disruption, and not just something negative. Maybe a kid got sick or something happened, and now the classroom's attention has shifted, and that's something that has definitely kept us at Brookside, just to kind of know that I think they really care about learning, academics, and students being successful. Even the kids that need extra resources or extra learning, they spend that time to evaluate that data and say, hey, we need some reinforcement in these areas and bring in this. And then also, my son has been in gifted language arts and math, and they have also made arrangements for those kids that are excelling to keep excelling in those areas. So just several different things that have kept us there, but overall it's just been a positive experience for us at Brookside.
Can you talk about the cultural competency consultant that Brookside? I mean, I think it's interesting because, the reality is in our school district that, this is across the country, right? That our teaching staff does not always look like the students they are teaching, right? And that can create some pretty major cultural disconnects that can create other problems. And it sounds like Brookside has done something to address this head on and kind of get in front of this.
So, leading demographic, we know that in education, white females dominate education as teachers. And so, obviously, we have more students that are well-rounded in that culturally. And so, and Brookside for the last several years has had a cultural competency lady that she just does consulting. She's there at Brookside, and she does, reinforcement training just so staff can be aware of, everyday things that we do. Sometimes in certain cultures that could be inappropriate or it could be a reflection of something negative, but because that's that student's experience and not what the other person perceives, even if it's like a disciplinary thing or disrespect, or it's like, no, we kind of do this in my home or something like that. And so it's been great just to kind of see that diversity, inclusion, and just cultural competency of other students it's something at the top of their list, and it's something they've done to make sure that their staff is reflecting those students, and just, yeah.
I want to say something that's very important to me, and I think to all of us, is that at charter schools, as parents, the door's open for us. There is parental engagement and involvement is at the core and mission of charter schools, I believe. And to our family, that has been very special, that I can be part of my child's education. The fact that my kids spend sometimes more time with their teachers than with me during the week, it's a little hard. But the fact that I, as a parent, can connect at any given point with the teachers, with my children, with the staff, with other parents, to make the community stronger, to make the academic experience greater, has been very, very important for us. And I just really feel well received in our charter schools.
I think students kind of having that relationship with their teacher, that connection or bond, that's going to open them up to receive their learning in a different way versus if they view their teacher in a negative way, or just as a person who disciplines them. It kind of puts up a wall to learning. And I think, having that cultural competency and being open with parent engagement and understanding your student, that's going to open up his brain just to kind of just learn from you and kind of just receive those vibes and that information to kind of connect those dots.
Right. That's a good segue into parent engagement generally, right? I think everyone talks about parent engagement. This is something that we value as parents, certainly. It's a lofty ideal in some cases, one that's really hard to always, realize. In our district, 90% of our students are free and reduced lunch eligible. We know that parents are stretched, right? They're stretched financially. They're stretched in terms of time, right? Resources are limited. There's this question of what can we expect from parents, and do we think our schools are expecting enough from parents? Should schools be asking less? And I bring this up because there's this whole question of funding equity now, right? We know that from a legislative perspective, charter schools need support. It's hard to get parents to show up. I don't know. Where are we on that?
I think it starts with educating the parents, of how a charter school operates, how it's funded, and such, because before I become a part of the
SVN community, and
we really didn't know much about a charter school. We just knew that even when I attended as a child, we just knew that it was another school. We didn't, we just knew charter school. We didn't know exactly what a charter school was, until I attended, and I was blown away, like, oh wow, it's an amazing school. I
think that going back to what he was saying about educating the parents, because a lot of people, someone literally just asked me today, I was like, I'm going to do this podcast for charter school. So I'm trying to break it down, explain it, and I think the biggest thing is the parents that have children enrolled in a charter school, that we have to let the parents know what the difference is. And a part of the difference is the funding. And I think that if we did get an understanding with the parents and kind of get them on board, then it's easier to advocate for something that you understand.
Right.
And if there's a lack of understanding with the parents, then I think it would naturally pull in that engagement of, parents working and, not having time to do this and do that. But if we create that lane or opportunity for understanding, I think more parents will be more flexible, knowing that, hey, my kid is going without an additional resource that another kid has just because they go to this type of school.
Sure. So it's more like normalizing the conversation around,
Absolutely.
okay, there are these different types of public schools, right? And charter schools are one of those types of public schools, and this is what makes them different. And I mean, I totally agree, Joseph, in terms of just this basic civic education around what is this model, how are we different. I'm not sure at my child's school that the majority of parents, if you said, what's a charter school, that they could actually answer that question. I mean, they know that they appreciate, that their children attend a public school, that they're not paying for it, like all of these things that come along with it, and some of the frustrations of public education too, right? I mean, this is not a perfect model, but it is a really good one, know, and so how do we just share this basic information and start building that base? And I think it even starts with students. I mean, I was talking to a parent at Citizens of the World, and they were having a parking ticket problem, and one of the ways that they got around this problem is telling kids where, their parents could park, right? Because kids love pointing out when you do something wrong, your parents. So it's like, Mommy, you can't park there, and that just being a basic way to open that conversation up. So,
Christy, I wanted to jump in real quick because I know you have a great story that you've talked about before about your son and some of the challenges he had with his hearing.
Yes.
And how the school at Crossroads addressed that.
Yes. So Emilio just ran. Actually, we had a free clinic at the school, and that's where they determined that he didn't pass the test on one of his right side, and turns out it had been a viral infection that killed some of the nerves. That was crazy. Point being that he started needing to wear, he started wearing a hearing aid, and then he had still a bit of a speech need, and we connected with the speech therapist at school and started quickly talking to her, and she started connecting with Emilio. It was a matter of 6 months. He graduated from the program. We didn't even know we didn't realize when his little speech impediment was gone because it had flown so naturally. But we have always received from Crossroads really great support and attention to those small things that are really big as far as impacting the development of a child or a scholar. The other thing was that he also had in kindergarten a mild case of sensory processing disorder. And the school back then was not equipped with all that they needed, the teachers, to really, address this need in several children. So parents got together. We built and donated things and toys and had a wish list that we shared with the rest of the school. And as parents, partnering with the teachers, we developed a sensory processing room that many other kids had access to. Yeah. So that is, to me, the power of partnering with the staff. The staff identifies the need, and the child or the parent brings the need that they have identified in their own student. And then how are we going to tackle this together? Because it is certainly a partnership.
And that's just another thing I wanted to mention, too, is the organizations that these schools partner with outside of education. Mm-hmm. For instance, SVN does a vision van where children, that can't afford glasses at the time are able to get glasses, from a grant, a fund that they receive. My child was one of the recipients. When I did a job transfer, we didn't have the funds to currently buy his glasses, and SVN took care of that. They go above and beyond to make sure that these children are getting the absolute best education that they can receive, at least in their hands.
Absolutely.
And that's another reason why we chose SVN, because it feels like they're part of your family as much as they care about your child.
And they see our children with a holistic approach. It's not just the academics, but it's everything that speaks to the well-being of a child.
Right, and having the flexibility to respond, right?
I could listen to everybody. I could listen to you all day talking about the great things happening. And I think it really speaks to, if you really want to know about a school, you talk with the parents, you talk with the kids, and you really understand what's happening in a school.
Yes.
And really, I appreciate all of you being here today and,
Thank you.
and talking
Thank you.
and sharing your stories. And, charter public schools are better for all of you, and we appreciate everything that you do to benefit the schools and the community. And so we're going to wrap up this edition of Missouri Charter's Work. And thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.